On a cold autumn evening, Marin arrived at her inheritance, an old, weather-worn house near Blackwater Bay. The bay was infamous in town. Legends said a coven of witches had lived there, and that a terrible fire had claimed them centuries ago. People whispered that the spirits of the witches haunted the waters, seeking revenge for the horrors they suffered. Despite the stories, Marin found herself strangely drawn to the place. Her grandmother had left the house to her, calling it a family legacy, though she had never spoken about it. The first night, Marin found it hard to sleep. The wind off the bay howled, and through her bedroom window, she could see a distant lighthouse at the edge of the waters, dark and crumbling. The wind almost seemed to whisper her name, urging her toward it. The next day, she asked a local shopkeeper about the lighthouse. His face went pale. "That place is cursed. They say the last witch was burned alive right there," he warned. "It's been abandoned ever since." That night, the whispers grew louder. Marin lay awake, unable to shake the pull of the bay. Just past midnight, she gave in, wrapping herself in a coat and stepping outside. The cold air bit her cheeks as she approached the rocky shore, and with every step, the whispers grew clearer, almost like voices calling her name. When she reached the lighthouse, her heart pounded. The massive stone structure loomed above her, dark and foreboding. As she neared the entrance, her flashlight flickered, then went out. She felt a strange warmth on her skin, though the air was frigid. Shadows danced around her, shifting in the fog, and faint voices echoed from within the tower, whispers that seemed to surround her. Inside, Marin felt a sudden urge to climb the spiral staircase. Each step creaked, and her footsteps echoed. Halfway up, she saw something. Faint, ghostly figures moving in the shadows. She froze, heart hammering, but something inside urged her to continue. At the top, she entered a room with broken windows that overlooked the bay. In the dim moonlight, she saw them, pale figures with hollow eyes, their gazes fixed on her. The witches. "Why have you come?" one asked, her voice like the wind itself. Marin found herself speaking before she even thought. I think I'm here to help." The witches' faces twisted with rage and grief. Another spoke, her voice heavy with sorrow. "For centuries, we've suffered, bound to this bay, trapped by hatred and betrayal." Marin felt a strange sensation, a memory not her own. Visions of a mob of townspeople, torches in hand, chanting as they forced women into the lighthouse. A memory of betrayal and vengeance that felt like a scar in her very bones. "You carry her blood," the first witch whispered. "Only you can set us free." Marin felt a chill that had nothing to do with the night air. Her grandmother had always hinted at their family's unusual history, but Marin had never believed it meant anything real. She understood now. Her family had a dark connection to this place, but something told her it was also the key to ending the torment that haunted Blackwater Bay. The witches instructed her in an ancient ritual, a spell passed down through her bloodline. She listened, her hands shaking as she recited the incantation, feeling the words burn through her. As she spoke, the room began to glow, and a powerful wind swept through, swirling around the spirits, lifting them. Suddenly, a searing pain shot through her palm. She looked down and saw that her hand was bleeding, but she kept chanting, feeling as though the words were filling the air with light. The spirits' faces softened, their twisted rage dissolving, replaced by peace. One by one, they faded, their voices becoming softer until they were no more than a gentle breeze. As the last of the witches' spirits vanished, the room fell silent. Marin was alone in the darkened tower, her hands still throbbing. The air felt different, calmer, lighter, as though centuries of anger and sorrow had finally lifted. She stepped out of the lighthouse and looked out over the bay. For the first time, the waters looked peaceful, glistening in the moonlight. Marin knew she had ended a curse, one that had bound not only the spirits, but her own family's history. She returned to her grandmother's house, feeling that the haunted bay would no longer whisper in the night. From that day forward, the waters of Blackwater Bay remained calm, the lighthouse standing as a silent guardian. And while the locals still whispered about ghosts and witches, they spoke of them now with reverence rather than fear.